When Shedeur Sanders signed with the Browns, he didn't just ink a rookie deal. He rewrote the playbook. His contract wasn't just unprecedented. It was borderline revolutionary. We're talking about a fifth-round pick who managed to secure a prime equity clause, ownership of his own digital media content, revenue from merch and sponsorships. So when Dillon Gabriel, new team, new reps, maybe even a shot at redemption, gets asked about Sanders and responds with something along the lines of, Shedeur doesn't just change games, he changes the way this league works. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. That's not a throwaway quote. That's the sound of a wall cracking. Because even other QBs are beginning to realize that Shedeur isn't just a player. He's a movement, a blueprint. And whether teams like it or not, others are going to follow. So now you've got agents and meetings pulling up his deal on iPads. You've got rookies asking if they can get merch clauses, content ownership, nil-style language. And you've got the NFL front offices panicking because this wasn't supposed to happen. The league depends on structure, predictability, control. They can't have a rookie taking slices of the pie usually reserved for billionaires in suits. But Shedeur isn't waiting for permission. He's claiming his worth. And that scares people. Let's zoom out a bit. Because this isn't just about one contract or one player. This is about an entire power shift. We're in the middle of a sports revolution, and no one in charge seems ready for it. Sanders' deal isn't just a curiosity. It's a precedent. And the NFL knows what happens with precedent. First it's one player, then it's 5, then it's 50, then suddenly rookies have media teams. Players have stock in their team's revenue. Endorsement deals are structured to benefit the player's brand and the team's. In other words, the league's grip starts to loosen. That's why the collusion allegations are very real. It's not some wild conspiracy. It's business. Ugly business. The moment Sanders made his contract public, certain owners picked up the phone, asked questions, applied pressure. They wanted to bury the story, suppress the ripple effect, make sure this didn't become the new normal. But guess what? It's already too late. Because in today's world, players don't need the league to tell their story. They've got their own platforms, their own followers, their own global audiences. Sanders didn't wait for ESPN to validate him. He documented the journey himself. Vlogs, mini-docs, merch drops, behind-the-scenes branding. He owned his narrative. And that's scarier than his throwing arm. Because the NFL has never been about empowering players. It's been about containing them. The minute you let one athlete monetize a story at scale, you have to let all of them. And once that happens, the business of football shifts forever. Let's not forget what sparked this all. He was passed over in the draft, pushed down, quietly punished for having the audacity to demand more value, more equity, more control. And now he's got all three. And still, they want to keep him buried on the depth chart, kept behind older QBs with less upside but more familiarity. But when Dillon Gabriel, starts publicly acknowledging Shedeur's influence, that means the locker rooms are waking up. That means the players are talking. That means the movement is spreading. Gabriel wasn't trying to throw shade. If anything, he sounded impressed, maybe even inspired. He sees a shift. He sees the blueprint. And like every other smart QB trying to carve out a future in this league, he's paying attention. Because here's the new truth. Talent is only half the battle. The rest? It's leverage, narrative, strategy. Shedeur understood that from day one. He didn't just walk into the NFL. He walked in with ownership documents. And every game he plays well, every touchdown, every viral highlight, it's not just a win on the field. It's a power play. And it's making the old guard sweat. The real question now, how long before the NFL has to change? Because you can only suppress innovation for so long. You can only blacklist a few players. You can only threaten so many GMs. Eventually, the dam breaks. And when it does, we'll look back at Shedeur's contract the same way we look at free agency in the 90s or nil in college sports. as the beginning of a new era, a player-first era, an era of earned equity. And Dillon Gabriel, he just threw gasoline on the fire, whether he meant to or not. So where does this go next? Does the league try to quietly dismantle Sanders' influence? Do other rookies follow his lead in contract negotiations? Or does this become a full-blown shift in how athletes and teams do business? If you've made it this far, you probably already have thoughts. So drop them in the comments. Do you think Shedeur's deal is the future of football? Is Dillon Gabriel right? Has Sanders changed the game forever? And if you want to keep riding this wave of drama, legacy-shaking decisions, and sports world chaos, hit that subscribe. Because we're not just telling stories. We're tracking a revolution. One player, one contract, one power move at a time. You don't need to be their first-round golden boy to take control. You need leverage. You need vision. And you need receipts. Shedeur had all three. Let's be real. He should have been a top 10 pick. Everyone knows it. His college tape was solid, his poise unmatched, and his media footprint astronomical. But by draft night, he'd been mysteriously passed over again and again and again. The whispers started. Character concerns. Too media focused. Coach Prime is too involved. Translation? He wouldn't play ball with the system. He wouldn't shut up and wait his turn. He asked for ownership when rookies were still expected to smile and take what they were given. So they tried to humble him. And instead, he walked into the league with a contract that made some executives physically nauseous. Let's talk numbers, because that's where it gets absurd. Over $250 million in jersey sales revenue before his second preseason game, with a fifth-round salary that looks like lunch money compared to his endorsement deals. You realize how humiliating that is for the old model? Guys picked in the top 10 can't even sniff that kind of return. But here comes Shedeur, walking in like the CEO of QB1 Incorporated. His jersey wasn't just a fan favorite. It was an investment asset. TikTok resellers flipped it for profit, like it was a Travis Scott drop. Kids wore his number before he took a snap. He didn't need NFL approval. He had the algorithm. And Dillon Gabriel? He saw it. In that one moment, when Gabriel acknowledged Shedeur not just as a player, but as a disruptor, he joined a growing list of athletes who understand that the rules have changed. That we're not just playing football anymore. We're playing chess. And Shedeur is already thinking 5 moves ahead. Let's talk impact, not speculation. Real-world, measurable ripple effects. Already, rookie agents are reworking how they approach contract talks. Shedeur clauses are being drafted, revenue sharing, IP rights, streaming percentages. The NBA is watching. College programs are scrambling to build nil-friendly pipelines so they don't lose their top recruits to the new breed of empowered athletes. And over at NFL headquarters, there are meetings, closed-door ones, with words like containment precedent and media rights exposure being thrown around. Because this isn't just about Shedeur. It's about what happens next. Let's fast forward 2 years. Imagine a draft where players not only demand guaranteed money, but guarantee platforms, a piece of the broadcast pie, editorial say in how their likeness is used. They don't just want to play, they want to publish. And why shouldn't they? Shedeur proved it's possible. And the kicker? He did it with poise, with control, not arrogance, but awareness. He understood the game within the game. He didn't need to scream about injustice. He monetized it. Every snub, a storyline. Every rumor, a new reel. Every attempt to downplay his value, a quote for his next docuseries. That's not just savvy. That's generational shift energy. And now, fans aren't just watching him play football. They're rooting for his business model. That's power. Real, institutional shaking power. And you can bet NFL brass are panicking about the copycats. Because they know once something becomes cool, it becomes contagious. The old path? Play, obey, pray for a second contract. The Shedeur path? Build the brand, own the content, then force the league to negotiate on your terms. You think other players don't want that? You think the next 5-star quarterback out of Georgia or Texas isn't already strategizing how to get their own version of prime equity? You think agents aren't getting phone calls that start with, I want a deal like Shedeur's. This is the beginning of a snowball, and it's already rolling downhill. And then there's Dillon Gabriel, caught in the middle. Some see him as a journeyman, a fill-in, a quiet backup who just got handed a golden opportunity. But what if Dillon knew what he was doing when he spoke about Shedeur? What if it was a signal? Because let's be honest, quarterbacks are competing, but they're also watching. And when a peer does something that's disruptive, you study the move. Gabriel could have taken the safe route, said nothing, deflected the question, but instead, he gave Shedeur his flowers, not just as a player, but as a game changer. That tells us a lot. It tells us that even inside locker rooms, the respect is real. It tells us the revolution isn't some fan-driven fantasy. It's already alive within the league. Gabriel's acknowledgement? That was a flag planted. Yeah, this kid changed the game. And we all see it. And the fans? Oh, they're locked in. Because this drama, this chaotic cocktail of talent, business, rebellion, and legacy, it's way more compelling than your average Sunday scoreboard. This is what the modern NFL looks like. Not just touchdowns, but takeovers. Not just rookies, but revolutionaries. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not QB1. He's CEO1. And the league better get used to it. When a fifth-round pick is suddenly the blueprint for the next generation of athlete contracts, when a rookie with no Super Bowl ring has league executives checking for fine print in their rookie templates, when an entire sports media machine can't stop tracking his every move, not because of scandal or ego, but because he figured it out, that's not a player. That's a movement. And right now, that movement is steamrolling through the NFL faster than PR departments can respond. The story started with contract, but now it's much bigger, because Sanders didn't just show up to play quarterback. He showed up to own the spotlight, to monetize the moment, to flip the entire rookie hierarchy upside down and say, no thanks, I'll take mine in equity. That's what has the NFL shook. It's not about arm strength or footwork anymore. It's about leverage. And Shedeur Sanders is more of it than some of the league's top-paid veterans. Let that sink in. While other rookies were rehearsing interviews and PR-safe sound bites, Shedeur was negotiating ownership of his digital likeness. He was planning campaigns. He was building infrastructure. And now, he's not just collecting checks. He's writing the terms. This is what happens when a player enters the league already acting like a franchise, a brand, an empire with cleats. And the craziest part? This was always the plan. Coach Prime didn't raise a quarterback. He raised a CEO, a businessman, a disruptor, one who watched, studied, and then circled the weak points in a billion-dollar system, and then exploited them with precision. Shedeur's rookie contract might be the most expensive mistake the NFL's traditionalists ever made. Let's talk about those jersey sales again. Over $250 million in revenue, while riding the bench. That's not a stat line. That's a stock market flex. And the real kicker? He owns the funnel, the media platform, the digital traffic, the revenue share, the data. That's not just rare. That's revolutionary. It's one thing to cash in on a moment. It's another thing entirely to own the pipeline through which that moment gets monetized. Shedeur isn't just getting paid. He's building something that will continue to generate revenue whether he's on a field or not. Let's say he gets injured tomorrow. God forbid. Even then, his platform doesn't die. His revenue doesn't stop. The story continues because he owns the story. And that is exactly why NFL executives are nervous. Because now every top college player with a TikTok presence and a camera crew is looking at this and going, wait, I don't have to wait. Nope, not anymore. Shedeur burned the waiting room to the ground. Let's zoom out. This isn't just about football. This is about the entire sports ecosystem beginning to shift. From college athletes to G League players to overseas prospects, it's all being influenced by this moment. You think an NBA rookie isn't already scheming for a similar equity clause? You think MLB agents aren't in group chats right now talking about Shedeur-style deals? This is a kind of paradigm shift that ripples into every league. Why? Because athletes are finally realizing they're not just talent. They're platforms. And the old systems, they were built to extract, not to share. Shedeur flipped the script. Now the system either evolves or it crumbles under the weight of its own resistance. Let's get real. Traditional sports franchises are facing a new kind of player, one that doesn't need them for clout, doesn't fear them for opportunity, and isn't afraid to walk away if the deal doesn't respect their value. That's not arrogance. That's enlightenment. And Shedeur's success is proof that it works. Even his doubters are being converted in real time. Analysts who said he was too media hungry are now begging for interviews. Executives who thought he was distracted are scrambling to copy his contract clauses for their incoming rookies. And players? Players are watching, studying, learning. This is the LeBron going to Miami moment for modern athlete economics. This is KD to the Warriors in the context of player empowerment. This is history being written in high def, one brand deal at a time. And now that it's happening, there's no going back. Let's circle back to Dillon Gabriel, because his viral moment says just as much about the future as it does about Shedeur's past. In his interview, Gabriel didn't sound bitter. He didn't sound threatened. He sounded inspired, respectful, curious, because even he knows this ain't normal. He understands that Shedeur changed the stakes, that the guy who walked into the league with a camera crew wasn't doing it for attention. He was documenting the blueprint. And now, we're all watching the foundation of something massive take form. Gabriel even said himself, man, he's not just playing quarterback. He's building something. Exactly, because this story at its core is about architecture, about building a structure around your talent that sustains, scales, and survives long after the crowd stops cheering. That's what Shedeur Sanders is doing. And Dillon Gabriel? He's smart enough to recognize a tectonic shift when he sees it. That moment between them, however brief, wasn't just viral fodder. It was a signal. The new generation isn't competing against each other. They're competing against the system. And guess what? They're winning. So what does the NFL do now? Do they lean in and evolve? Finally giving athletes the tools and rights they've been denied for decades? Or do they double down on control, scared of what happens if too many players get Shedeur's level of leverage? Here's the thing. It doesn't matter, because the culture has already changed. Fans don't want robots. They want brands. They want personalities. They want players who own their story. And Shedeur? He owns it. He directs it. He profits from it. And now, he's inviting others to do the same. The dynasty he's building isn't just about wins and rings. It's about freedom. It's about equity. It's about redefining what success looks like in the modern game. So whether you're a diehard Browns fan, a Bengals loyalist, or just a curious observer watching the game shift right under your feet, one thing is certain. Shedeur Sanders didn't just enter the league. He hacked it, and the ripple effects? We're only just beginning to feel them. Now that Shedeur Sanders has cracked the code, you can feel the entire sports world starting to pivot. Agents are reprinting their playbooks. Rookie camps are suddenly less about playbook installs and more about media training. Even team owners, the guys who usually sit back in designer suits pretending like everything's under control, are on edge, asking lawyers questions like, wait, can a fifth rounder do that? Spoiler alert. Yes. Yes, he can. And he did. What's wild is how fast this is all happening. 1 minute Shedeur is being overdrafted by people who clearly hadn't watched the snap. The next, he's the highest earning rookie quarterback in terms of off-field revenue. And we're not even out of September. You want to talk about uncomfortable locker rooms? Imagine being the franchise QB on your rookie contract, watching a fifth rounder sell more jerseys than you, get more endorsement deals than you, and oh yeah, own his own media empire while you're still figuring out your TikTok password. Awkward. But this isn't about flexing on teammates. It's about changing the standard. And Shedeur is making it crystal clear. You don't need to be drafted top 5 to act like a top-tier talent. You just need leverage. You need vision. You need receipts. And let's be honest, he's got them all. There's also something deeper happening here. Something the league's gatekeepers are terrified to say out loud. This is the start of a player-led revolution. A quiet one, for now, but it's brewing. Because Shedeur's playbook isn't just about football. It's about freedom. It's about narrative control. And most of all, it's about ownership. not just of the ball, of the brand. And if the league can't or won't adapt, there's a whole generation of players ready to follow his lead, take their power back, and rewrite the rules for good. You can feel it in the energy. You can see it in the headlines. You can hear it in how players speak when they step up to the mic. There's a shift happening, a cultural reset. And guess who's at the center of it? Yeah, that's right, Shedeur. So whether the league is ready or not, it's here. The era of passive rookies and silent brands, dead and buried. This is the age of the player CEO. And if you're not ready to accept that, well, then you're playing checkers in a game of chess. Drop your thoughts below. Are we witnessing a once-in-a-generation shift in how athletes control their destiny? Or is Shedeur just the first of many to crack the code? Either way, buckle up, because the business of football just got personal.